Hey there, bud. Great couple questions here, so I decided to hop in. Okay, first reason why I'm an atheist. I've got props today, so let me introduce you to a friend of mine. Okay, this is Yorick. Yorick is the skull of a Homo erectus. Okay, so you can see the several characteristic features of the Homo erectus skull here, but the most noticeably is the guy just doesn't have a lot of brains. Okay, so let me place his eyes where my eyes are. See, okay, and then his nose here is going to be roughly where my nose is. See, his mouth is, exactly where my mouth is, right? So, but okay, so our facial features are exactly the same. But look how much more brain I have than he's got. Look, I've got this much more brain. Not that I use it all together so great. But at any rate, this is the guy who really pushed it over the edge for me, right? I grew up pretty fundamentalist in my belief about evolution. Evolution, doesn't, is evolution. It doesn't exist. It never happened. It's just like, made up by people who just don't want to believe this stuff, right? Yeah, I was told that people like my friend Homo erectus here were just they were just kind of deformed human beings, and we happened to find their bones, right? I mean, there was nothing particularly special about this, yada yada, all this kind of stuff, right? But it's just not true. I mean, it's like the more I learned about Homo erectus here, um, we find his bones all over the world, the exact same skull type. It just absolutely is not a deformed creature at all. This is a perfectly formed, perfectly viable organism. It started out in Africa. It darn near invaded the entire world, and it was in every continent except for North and South America that we found. So, and maybe even Australia. But you know, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, they always said there's no missing link, right? Well, here it is. This guy is the missing link. Okay, this form is just about exactly halfway between great ape and human being. So that's but it's not the fact that evolution is true that I became an atheist, right? It's more than that, right? Because I mean, even the Pope believes in evolution these days, right? Believing in evolution is perfectly compatible with being a Christian. The reason that it hit me so hard is because all these people who are supposedly the source of morality, right? The people who know the most, your pastors, your teachers, um, you know, people you look up to in the church, all these guys who are supposed to be where you look to for your source of morality, it turns out they were systematically misleading me, right? They were just lying the whole time. Um, a particular incident happened when I started having these doubts about evolution, and then I I sent to an email list of people from my denomination, and I said, what's going on here? I know there's some professors at religious colleges here who believe this stuff, and maybe they can help me out here, right? What's really going on? I got a message back saying, we don't talk about evolution on this mailing list because, you know, people who work at these colleges, they can't really come out and say that they believe in evolution because then they'd be fired. Um, that really hit me hard, man. I mean, it's like it just seems like there was this organization that was supposed to give me the truth, right? This organization that was supposed to be the source of our interpretation of the Bible and how things actually were supposed to be. It was just systematically keeping the truth from us for the sheer purposes only of maintaining its own institutional stability. Um, so that's reason number one. And so heads up to all the rest of you guys out there. Okay, if you don't want your kids to become atheists, okay, don't lie to them about evolution. Okay, go ahead and just tell them the truth about what science tells us these days about how we came to be this way. Okay, if they would have done that, okay, if they would have just said, okay, this is we evolved, blah blah blah. This is what the science says. I may actually to this day still have been a Christian. But I, you just can't. after being so betrayed, just a real feeling of betrayal. After just being so betrayed that way, it's really hard to go back. Okay, second reason. And oh, by the way, thanks for not asking for 10 reasons. Right, 10 reasons is too much. Two is just right. Second reason. Okay, you know, almost 90% of the United States identifies itself as being Christian, right? And even more identify themselves as being theist or believing in religion. Okay, if 90% of the people of America really were in contact with this source of ultimate morality, this source of transcendental holiness, right? I mean, if 90% of the people in America really were in contact with the ultimate source of holiness and the ultimate source of, how much different would our society be? It would be amazing. Okay, if 90% of the people in America actually lived the way that they claim that they should live, there would be nothing like it. Okay, but I really don't see any major difference between theists and non-theists in terms of personal holiness or personal morality or anything like this. That really, I think, is the biggest is a really telling thing against theism. I mean, it claims to be this source of morality, this standard of correctness, but if you just look at the people who actually adhere to this, I mean, you look at the leaders of the mega churches, right? Are they on average more or less holy than the leaders of CEOs of corporations? It doesn't really appear to be, or our politicians. It doesn't really appear to be, right? So it doesn't. I don't know if there were some group of people who actually were in contact with God. Okay, if God really were working His will out in the world, it seems like we'd have a tremendously different world than what we have. At any rate, very interesting questions, Lurpa.